and welcome to another episode of Inside the Message. Hey, we're so glad to be back with you. It's good to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Feels like we've been in the same house together for a long time.
We have been. It's getting to be a long time.
Okay,
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. And
Happy Valentine's Day.
Well,
when this airs, it'll be 3 days later.
Yeah. So you had some things you wanted to do off the just right off.
I did. I thought this would be fun. Since today is actually Valentine's Day, and we're actually going to be discussing the Valentine's message, there is something that's going around Facebook. And since Brother T and Rev René are actually not only shacking up together, but we're hitched. Mm-hmm. we were done married. We've been coupled for a long time. Right. We thought that we would play what's on Facebook, and instead of doing it there, we will do it here so that we can get to know one another a little bit better. So the very first question is, how did we meet? And I thought you could handle that one. And we don't want to go into a long story because I've got a lot of questions. So
I traveled to a far, far away place with a friend of mine who was one of my partners in our spiritual journey. And we ended up in this little town called Waterville. And the very first night, we were in a spiritual workshop for the weekend. And the very first night, she picked me out of a crowd and asked me to come up to the middle of the room to do an exercise with her. So she kind of picked me out of the crowd. And I was immediately hooked, and we literally spent the weekend together, and it was great. And we'll tell that story sometime.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how we met. And I thought you could answer this one too. What was our first date? Talk about our first date.
Our first date, I traveled back to that far, far away place to take her out on a date. And she picked the restaurant. And we went to this really cool restaurant. I thought it was pretty cool. And we're up on the second floor, and we had a window we had a little table right in front of the window. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking down on the street. It was really pretty cool, but she ordered roots, and I'd never had a meal of roots before. But I was so, taken with the conversation with her and meeting her and getting to know her. I didn't really care. I really wasn't that hungry, but I'd never really had a dinner of roots before. So
I'm vegetarian. So that restaurant was called Stella's in Perrysburg, Ohio, the faraway place out near Waterville, Ohio, and 5 years later, he proposed to me in that very same spot.
I did.
Yes. So how long have we been together? We were talking about that this morning.
A little over 8 years now, almost 8.5 years.
We've been together 8.5 years and married 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Okay. What's our age difference?
Nothing, really.
We don't do age. And so this is an irrelevant question, but I'll say he's older. It's about we don't do age.
We don't do age.
So that will remain a mystery.
She's still trying to keep up.
So. Yes, I am. Who was interested first?
Oh, I was definitely interested first, but evidently not. I mean, she was interested first because she picked me out of the crowd.
I did pick him out of the crowd. Yeah.
And she knew people there, so she could have picked a lot of people.
I was trying to be inclusive of newcomers, and I guess in some way I did pick him first, but I forgot immediately. And then I think you were interested first.
Oh, I was intrigued. Yeah. That's fair to say.
Yeah. This is a great question. Okay, come closer. Who's taller?
Who I think I am.
Yeah, and we have actually...
oh, you got shoes on. I don't even have shoes on.
Yeah. Tony is taller.
But not much.
But we're perfect size for each other. Who said I love you first?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah. It was funny. We were listening to old voice messages, and I think 3 weeks after we met, he said I love you.
I knew it
on a message. But I don't know that that's the first time he said it. I'll answer this one. Who initiated the first kiss? He did.
Did?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
It was nice.
I'll take credit for that.
Who's the most impatient?
I'm pretty sure I am.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But it's a
that was very generous of you.
It goes back and forth.
Yes, it's a close call, but
It's a close comparison.
I will let you take that one. Okay. Who is the most sensitive?
Oh, I'm definitely the most sensitive.
I was going to say me. So I think we're both sensitive.
No, I would say she's quite sensitive. But I mean, as we journey on these spiritual paths, we go through a period certainly of tenderness. And it feels like we're really sensitive, but we're just opening up to new vibrations and energies.
Yeah. Who is the loudest?
I would say I'm probably the loudest.
Really? I thought I might be on that one too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably pretty close.
Yeah. I think it depends. It depends on the situation. Yeah. I will answer this one. Who's the most stubborn? I would say you.
I will take that.
Okay.
Even though I disagree.
What did you learn a long time ago from somebody in one of our communities? The yes, honey.
Something about.
You were right.
You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. I love you.
Who falls asleep first?
I would say I tend to fall asleep.
I think you do. Yeah. Who's a better cook?
You're definitely a better cook.
Yeah, and it's really only because I'm the one
I started out to better cook, but now she's the better cook.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. But your French toast and mashed potatoes, the best. Yeah. Who's the better morning person?
The better morning person. What does better mean?
I don't know. I think we're both really good morning people.
Both really enjoy our
We're
mornings.
kind of both up and at 'em. Yeah. We enjoy our mornings.
We go our separate ways a little bit, just kind of get acclimated to our day and do what we're doing.
Our practices, and then we come together. Yeah. Who's a better driver?
I'm definitely a better driver.
Yeah, I'm really good though too. And you will admit that I'm pretty darn good too.
I will, except that she still can't park a car.
That would be true. Yes. That would be true.
As soon as I saw her park a car the first time, that's immediately I realized. I think it was the second day I knew her. We went to lunch with a bunch of people, and she was, trying to park the car.
It's true. But I'm a pretty darn good driver.
She's a good driver.
And so is he. Okay. Well, gosh, this is kind of funny. Who's the most competitive? I would say me. But you're pretty competitive too.
Yeah, I'd say we both are pretty close on that.
Yeah.
We'll say we tie.
Okay, we tie. Who's the funniest? You're really funny. I'm funny too, and I set him up a lot.
She does.
And so I kind of feel like we're a team in our funny.
Yeah.
So I think we're both funny, but I think he's funnier. Like he'll go on riffs that are just hysterical.
There was a time when I actually thought that maybe I should try to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoy, the wit of playing with words and catching, the double entendres of different phrases and how they can be interpreted. Words can be interpreted in so many different ways depending on how you put them together.
Yeah, you're pretty funny. Where do we eat out most as a couple? Well, we really haven't been eating out that much lately.
Well, J. Alexander's is a place that we would say.
J.
And
Alexander's.
We meet friends. We meet, maybe some of you there too.
And Avo.
Avo.
Yeah. Which, who is more social?
You're definitely more
I would
social.
Definitely say I'm more social. You kick in. He kicks in, but he starts out real quiet. Who is the neat freak? Neat freak.
Well, neither one of us are really super neat freaks,
we're tidy, but we're not crazy about it.
We don't get upset about a mess.
And we each have our different areas. Like he does laundry. That's really a big plus. Yeah. Do I get flowers often, or do you get flowers often? I got flowers today, which I'm really thrilled about, but and they're just beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, he is very considerate. I do get flowers. Yeah. Okay. Who plans date night? Feels like we don't really do date night.
We don't do it a lot. But
Every day is a date.
I would say you do.
Yeah.
You're more into the planning.
And I plan travel.
She's more into planning than I am. I like that I don't have to do it, and you're good at it.
Yeah, I am. And it's fun. I get your input when I need it. Who picks where we go to dinner? I would say that's mutual.
It is. I think that
I have more food restrictions. Yeah.
You're more of a foodie than I am. And so
I'm
I
more
can eat
of a
almost
foodie.
anything, and she's more
I tend to be vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who is the first one to admit when they're wrong? Definitely me.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. It is definitely me.
I'm never wrong.
Who cries more?
Yeah.
Definitely you.
But those are tears of joy.
Tears of joy.
From our spiritual journey of the awakening mind.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that energy right now, and it overwhelms me sometimes.
Yeah, so he definitely, and it's so sweet.
And
in fact, when we met that weekend, we were in a big circle, and he was having those tears of joy, and I was sitting next to him. And
she wouldn't give me any napkins.
I wouldn't give her a Kleenex. I wouldn't give him a Kleenex or a tissue or anything because I didn't want to interrupt his process. And
other women would just gather around.
They were trying to. I know, but I didn't want to interrupt. Plus, I knew nothing was wrong.
That's right.
What's the furthest place we've traveled together?
I'm going to say probably the Virgin Islands. Well, no, Panama, Central America. We went to Panama.
Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii.
Don't you think Hawaii is further?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important that I don't forget that because that's where we went for our honeymoon. So
and got married there.
Yeah.
Who hogs the remote?
I probably do.
He's the remote guy. Who spends the most? I think we both do.
Yeah, I have a tendency to spend on maybe bigger items.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I'm more continuous.
Or at least I get involved in the process of purchasing bigger things. But I think you tend to be very comfortable, just getting what you need and taking care of those things.
Absolutely. We did not go to the same school.
No.
At all. And who drives when we are together?
I do pretty much.
Yeah, we've joked that you joke.
I'm her chauffeur.
That he's my chauffeur.
And she really needed one. So.
But I do enjoy driving.
Yeah.
But when we're together, he tends to drive.
Yeah. Well,
so
fun.
That's it. That was it. That was pretty painless, huh?
Well, yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, and lots of fun. I hope it was painless for you. We enjoyed it. We hope you did. So anyway, so we're going to kind of do our Inside the Message.
Yeah. And
we'll keep it short.
We're going to keep it short. But I really, the last Inside the Message and the first talk this month, we said we're going to get into forgiveness. And in our Zoom session, our gatherings with you, some of you who are there showing up with us in Zooms, that forgiveness is a big issue, very difficult to cover, certainly in an inspirational message, to get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of it, right? So we said we would continue to talk about it for the month of February. So your talk, of course, is a little interrupted by the energy of the Valentine's Day. And so I just want to bring that back to the point of forgiveness. I loved your talk. You really covered quite a bit, and I loved the story about how you froze your credit cards and then microwaved your credit cards. If you didn't catch that, you definitely need to watch that. It's hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. But anyway, the point is, how would you bring forgiveness then into the core of the message that you shared?
Yes.
Right?
So absolutely. And I could have easily thrown the word forgiveness in the conversation because forgiveness was inherent in the conversation, but because I was more focused on love and the attributes of love and having loving thoughts, and really being your own Valentine, meaning being loving to the self, yourself. And I laid the foundation again, as we tend to do, as I tend to do, is always laying the foundation of our divine identity. And from there, then, the choice of choosing loving thoughts or unloving thoughts. And when we choose unloving thoughts, we are basically in hell. Like my unloving thoughts keep me in hell. And that is actually a lesson in A Course in Miracles, where you contemplate your unloving thoughts, and unloving thoughts can be so very subtle. And even if you believe it's unloving thoughts about somebody else, it's really affecting you. And it becomes, these unloving thoughts have become the way that the world thinks. We think in opinions, we think in judgments, we think in criticism, we think in collective canceling of individuals. I mean, that thought system is really out there. And I had identified it as a disunified thought system versus the unified thought system of love, where in the thought system of love, nothing is lacking, everything is present. And it's cohesive and everybody wins and nobody loses. But in this disunified thought system, which is really based on unloving thoughts, how do we escape from the habit that it creates and the hellish experience that it creates? And we could say that forgiveness is a way that we do that. And I even had a subtitle for the talk, that the currency of love is forgiveness. And so when we shift from unloving thoughts to loving thoughts, that is forgiveness. That is the practice of forgiveness. It is offering our thoughts and our thinking to the higher self and interrupting that pattern. And the story I told is to kind of put those thoughts on ice. Stop exchanging in the currency of unloving thoughts. And when we do, we return to our identity. So unloving thoughts, these unloving thoughts I'm having, they keep me in hell. What's my salvation? My salvation is my holiness, my divine identity.
Your true identity.
My true identity. And then I return to loving thoughts. That in and of itself is a shift in perception. It can be called a miracle. And it could also be called forgiveness, because we are going back before we've given the judgment of an unloving thought.
That's right. And can I just jump in?
Absolutely.
I think, and we can talk about, we've got 2 more Sundays that we can continue to unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, but, just a couple of things. You said, the world, we've gotten to the point where we're judgmental and critical, blah, blah, blah. And I just want to say, that's the way it's always been.
Yes.
When we're in the mind of the ego, it operates between suspicious and vicious, right? And that's a pretty narrow band, right, of limitation, but that's the paradigm that it operates. And it's subtle, and we're not being conscious of it, because it's doing its thing, and we're just kind of hoodwinked by it, and we're thinking this is our thoughts, this is who we are, blah, blah, blah. But those are all a self that we've created. So the only way to truly to love ourselves is to forgive ourselves for not necessarily for having what I want to say, judging ourselves and saying I had an unloving thought, but for being tricked into thinking that we were something that we're not. And we can forgive ourselves for because it's so easy to be hypnotized. And that's like, judging yourself because you allowed yourself to be hypnotized. You go to a hypnotist and you say, yeah, I'll be a subject, and they do their thing, and suddenly you're doing something, and you're kind of out of your mind. Really, you're being directed by something outside of yourself to perform or do something in a way that you wouldn't normally do, like a chicken, right, or whatever that is, right? And so, how would you hold yourself guilty for doing something that you were tricked into doing? Because that's the way the ego operates. It's very tricky. I mean, it literally deceives us into believing that it's who we are. But once we get to this teaching, once we get on this pathway, once we learn this language, we can step back from it now, and we can forgive ourselves. And it's really comical. We begin to now watch ourselves as the witness, and we can see the patterns that we fall into so easily.
Yeah.
Without judging ourselves for it.
Right.
And that's real forgiveness.
I'm glad you shared that, because when we become aware of an unloving thought, the idea isn't to judge ourselves. The idea is to simply notice. The idea is to simply notice when we're having those. And at some point, it may even be comical. Oh, there's that thought, it's kind of, I can see, the lightness of it. And yet, it's an unloving thought, and I'm going to let that go. Yeah. I'm going to turn from that loving thought, and I'm going to stop engaging in it, because what ends up happening is we coagulate, we attract to ourselves that vibration. And so then it becomes some strains of unloving thoughts become the way that we connect
Right.
with one another.
And all the thoughts of the ego are unloving because it doesn't know love.
Right. But my point is that then the reason why it becomes sometimes challenging is because that's how maybe we connect with people. Maybe it becomes our humor. Maybe it becomes our conversation. Who are we against? Who do we like to,
Yeah, I think most often it's the ego just trying to make itself be worthy and valid.
But my point is that sometimes when we disengage from these thoughts, we feel alone. It's we've kind of changed our way of being.
Yeah.
And so to love ourselves during that, I think is really important. And I think that's what you were kind of bringing up. Would we judge ourselves because we weren't in our right mind?
Right. When we begin to really see that egoic self is not really who we are, then we really start making quite a few changes in our lives. It can be job changes, it can be location changes, it can be relationship changes, because we start seeing that we've just been following patterns of a thought system that's not. It's not who we are.
Right. And that was part of the conversation, that it's habitual. And when it becomes habitual, it becomes unconscious. And when it becomes unconscious, it goes below the surface, even though it's still operating. And that's where, illness comes from, and sickness and anxiety and depression. That those things, we kind of don't get away with it, even when it becomes, especially when it becomes habitual. So what we're doing is we're bringing the habitual into our awareness.
That's
and
huge.
Then we're choosing.
We're making a choice about how.
Yes.
It's almost like if you have a dream at night and you're doing something in the dream, maybe out of fear or whatever, you don't wake up and judge your dreaming self. You just go, oh, that was.
You just wake up.
You wake up and you say that was a dream. You might remember
and
part of
it fade.
And you say, I'm not going to judge myself for how I was acting in a dream. I was afraid or I was excited or whatever was going on. I'm not going to judge myself for that. It was just an illusion.
Yeah.
If we can begin to look at this egoic self with that same compassion and love and acceptance, and we can see that we trip over ourselves doing things that are out of patterns, and there's no reason to judge ourselves for that.
Of course not. Of course not. So there's no judgment in this practice, but there is a heightened awareness. And so we bring up from the subconscious, the subjective mind, into the conscious mind. We become aware and we say, this thought that seems innocuous in some way or neutral in some way, it isn't. And it's actually keeping me subtly and not so subtly in hell. But my holiness is my salvation, my deliverance from that. And so when you're shifting a habitual pattern, just like the alcoholic who becomes sober, sometimes it becomes it's uncomfortable at first. But then there is a saying, I have to change my playground and my playmates. We can feel off balance. We don't know if the people who we are with when we begin to shift from unloving to loving thoughts are going to want to hang with us anymore, right? And so everything can kind of change up. And that's the beauty of spiritual community. That's the beauty of having, a network of people who are committed to love.
Right.
And so the idea is that the very best gift that we can give to anyone is to begin to heal those unloving thoughts that we have about ourselves. Like, I know when I'm not good and aligned with myself, I'm not fun for you to be around, I'm sure. When I'm off balance within myself. So the best gift that I can give to my beloved is for me to love myself.
That's
because then that extends and I can be available to love
to others.
Him.
Yes. And the same's true for me too. It's true for all of us because we all get hypnotized and hoodwinked by that.
So we're so very grateful that you joined us for this conversation. We're going to wrap it up here. And because we know that we're going to have a conversation on our Zoom gathering in a couple minutes here, and Brother T is going to continue the conversation of forgiveness and continuing to pull that thread of forgiveness this
That's
coming
sweet. Yeah.
Sunday. Is there
Mhm.
anything you want to share about that?
No, I think we'll leave it open.
Let it unfold.
It's I pretty much know where we're going with it, but I won't let the genie out of the bottle. It's hard to get her back in there, so we'll leave it with that for now.
Okay. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I
Oh,
love you.
thank you. Beautiful talk. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. and
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's
Yeah,
Day,
happy
beloved.
Valentine's Day to
Happy
you.
Valentine's Day. We love you.
Yeah, we do indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, and we hope to see you on the Zoom, and we certainly hope to see you in the upcoming episodes here at True Thought Spiritual Community.
Yeah. TrueThought.org.
TrueThought.org.
O-R-G.
God bless you. We love you. Thank you, Jim.
All that